Hello people. So on to the next video in my series on Pluto into the gate 41. So trying to explain how I think it might manifest as it comes and just general thoughts I have about this. On this little slide here, as I've described, I characterize things as high, which is very cerebral, very abstract, grand plan sort of stuff, medium, which is relatable things, and lower, which is more my personal experience. So this is a medium, and it follows on from two previous videos. Just for a very brief recap, I have been talking about how these three hexagrams, the 61, the 60 and the 41, as Pluto goes through them, is showing us something about the lockdown. And I summarised the theory of that in my immediately last video. But that was just theory. I want to add in a little bit of practicality to it, a little bit of real world metaphor experience as such. Quickly, I'll just talk about this. So the 61 is the light. The 60 is the limitation that prevents that light from being lost in a sense. And the 41 is a new cycle beginning. And Saturn and Pluto conjunct on 61.3 around January 10th or January 12th of 2010. One thing that I mentioned in a last video that I am going to be bringing up here is that as you go forward from the 61, the 60, the 41, you can't then go back. The big strength of the 61 is it brings light to a subject, and then the 60 limits everything to prevent that light being lost in a sense, because change is resisted. But there will be a tendency within people that don't like that light, that have lived in a very fake manner perhaps, to want to go back to before that moment of insight came in, and that's what the 60 prevents. When I go into part 2, I'm going to talk about my personal experience of these hexagrams with reference to the gate 60 in one of the videos, and then how the very brief stint of Pluto in the gate 41 between April 11th and May 24th 2024 manifested for me, and seeing if I can extrapolate a pattern which I can then use to explain the manifestation in the real world of the gate 41. We're not there yet, we're talking in general terms first. So to explain the impact of the gate 61 and the following hexagrams, I want us to think of three friends. We will go with three male friends because why not? It's not actually going to make a difference. It's not going to be that in depth. And there has been a massive enlightening, I believe, of the personal dynamics of friendship and family and such since we had what I'll call the totalitarian medical treatments. I'll call them TMTs. You're not supposed to say the word that actually mentions those directly because of certain issues. So I'll use the term TMTs, totalitarian medical treatments. The amount of friendships and such that these have broken up, or family relationships. I was on a podcast the other day and I heard someone read out the responses that Naomi Campbell got when she talked about this area. One father refused to see his 4-year-old child because that child hadn't received a totalitarian medical treatment, because they'd been separated during the pandemic, the mother and father, and so he hadn't actually seen his child yet. That is a deep level of whatever craziness, I suppose, but it's got a very much a wheat and the tares kind of feel to it. The people that didn't get the totalitarian medical treatments were hated very much by the ones that did, but only a small section of the ones that did, and a lot of those people that got it were nice people that weren't hateful people, that weren't the kinds of people that hated the ones that didn't get it. And it's interesting how this totalitarian medical treatment kind of sorted the wheat from the tares in that process. It brought up this perfect thing for people to argue about against, which allowed a lot of people, and specifically the people that did get the totalitarian medical treatments, to manifest what their inner world was really like. And this has changed a lot. This has created a very distinct delineation between people, the people that got it, the people that didn't. And if it was to ever come out that the totalitarian medical treatments were non-positive, something like that, and that the people that were aggressively supporting it were in the wrong, well, the people that were aggressively supporting it were precisely the kind of people that will never admit they are wrong. And this will reflect into other areas of their life, and it's very much, to me, like a judgment day sort of thing. Anyway, here's my picture. You got 3 friends, and on a deeper level, these friends have really not got on that much, but it's a kind of shallow friendship, and it's one where, because there's a lot of penetration as such into the depths of people, there's a lot of ability to pretend virtue when there isn't virtue, and there's no deep exploration of those sorts of things. The friendships have got on without significant difficulty for a while. But then you get this gate 61 coming in, and it is showing the lockdown, and it brings incredible light to the situation. And the light that it brings to the situation is all of a sudden, perhaps related to totalitarian medical treatments, perhaps related to something else, there's a disconnect. There is a realization that these friends don't get on as much as they thought they did, or perhaps, as I've done in the diagram here, just one of them is significantly off kilter compared to the other 2. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about in relation to the gate 61. Now, as we go to the gate 60, because there's an incredible amount of limitation, because there is none of the normal friendship networks, you don't meet these people through other friends and kind of let it go. People are less into films, people are less into club socializing in general. No one's getting a new job or some sort of positive news that can massage the tension out of these issues. It just remains as the issue, and the gate 60 keeps everything stuck. Even if people were to, try and mend the bridge, it doesn't work. And this is, like I've said, what I believe the function of the gate 60 is. This is a reason for all the stuckness. Then, once you've kind of had this effect, as I said in the last video, once this gate 60 has starved the weeds as such, everything's kind of died, all these false connections, all this falsity has died, the light showed what was real, what isn't, and the limitation allows everything that isn't real to die. Then obviously gate 41 is a new cycle, and we'll just say that this person goes off to a new cycle, probably the other 2. I don't know what the other 2 are doing in my imagining here, so I'm just leaving them there. But this other person here that didn't get on with his other group goes off and does a gate 41 thing. And I wonder if, from this, I'm wondering if the gate 41 signals an improvement in the economy or something, but that's just a thought. I wanted to bring in another example because this was a real example. Now, the previous example does kind of agree with something that happened in my own life, but I didn't make it based on that. I just needed to have 3 people because that explains the issue, the hexagrams, the chemistry. And I don't have a massively clear idea on this, but this next one is something that I observed in the world and seems pretty likely to me. So imagine you have a woman, right? So this is a woman, and she has a lot of friends, but as she discovers, as this gate 61 clips in, then all of a sudden, all the friends that she hangs around all the time, bang, they're gone. And this is quite amazing if you think about it. When the lockdown came in, it's really quite fascinating how people can say, oh, the government said this, therefore I'm following this thing, and not really think that that impacts on their ethics as such. Like, if you have a friend that needs your help or something like that, they're not seeing them because you might get the cold from them. It's still an ethical choice. Like, the government isn't God. They can't say that your karma is gotten rid of because we made up a virus for our pharmaceutical interests, and if you follow this, there will be no karma, because they're not God. And so this girl didn't have all those friends. They were just gone, and she would hang around with large groups of people, often go out and all that kind of stuff, and had done throughout her life. But she did have a friend. She had me, but she didn't really like me that much, really. Like, I think, that's I suppose that's a bit of a bomb to drop on people just in talking about YouTube video, but, logically, practically, that makes a lot of sense. I'm a bit right wing. I wasn't that well when I knew her. In fact, I was very unwell at some points. And I just didn't agree with her left wing views or the left wing views of her friends and everyone else. But I had no problem hanging around with her when the cold was going around and talked about by the media. So that kind of left her in a bit of a bind. So she, in a sense, wanted to go back to all the kinds of friends that she had before that were all true believers as she was in the cold. But that wasn't really an option for her, in a sense. Or it was, and she tried to make it happen, but the chemistry wasn't there. So in this image here, it shows that she was trying to get back to all those kinds of friends that would just have ignored her in lockdown, basically. Those were the kinds of people that she preferred to hang around with, and she kind of got me out of her life at that point. That ended badly for her. What life was probably pushing her to do was to, or just a guess from my perspective, was to kind of say, look, these people that are willing to shun you because of the common cold are not the kind of people that you want to hang around with, and she should have probably left her town and gone to live at home. Like, as far as I know, that's a good thing to do because she wasn't well. And yeah, in general, just those are the kinds of things that I think this astrology is showing. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the general lockdown, like all the different things that happened, and that's the church, friends and family, dating, and the economy and business and such. But that's it for this video, and thank you for listening.